Welcome. I'm Jeanette, the Northdawn Coach. I'm glad you're joining me today as I continue the series where I'm looking at, in particular, if you are feeling like you want to make a change. You're either in a current position and you want to pivot, transition to something else, or perhaps you've been laid off or are in search mode. One of the first things that happens when you're in this mode is to think about what I need to do first. Well, I need to update my resume. And this series is all about, well, that's an important thing to do. It's not the first and most important thing to do, if that is the case for you. In fact, there are some other steps that are going to be very useful in the long run. In the short run, it may feel like, wait, this is delaying things. However, in the bigger picture, it will more efficiently get you to the place that you want to be. So for the last several videos, I've been exploring initial steps. So if you haven't caught those, I'll leave a link in the description box so that you can go back and catch up to where we are. Because today I want to look at question 3 of what we can do before we jump into resume updates. As you know from catching previous videos, we're following a framework called the logical levels of change. It's a framework that I often will use with my career coaching clients who are facing a transition or a pivot. And it's very useful for figuring out exactly what do I want to be doing at this point. And so it's a series of questions that go deeper and deeper and are interrelated. So the first several questions that we've been looking at are aligned to the first several levels of the model. So we started with environment, which is a lot. There's a lot about your current environment. It could be physically, where you live, where you work, the nature of the position, all sorts of things fall into environment. And often when we figure we need to make a transition or a pivot, we think it's coming from something in the environment that is causing that. And while that's true, it's likely that it's actually connected to other things that we can discover in subsequent levels of this framework. So that next level that we looked at is really about behavior. And behavior also, like environment, includes a lot of different things. And so it's a relatively complex one, but behavior is probably directly related to what you've uncovered in environment and asking the question what we posed about environment. So if you want to make a change about those external circumstances caught in environment, it's going to likely mean a change of behavior. So it's important to look at those behavioral pieces. And then if we need to make a change in behavior to impact a different environment, a change, a pivot, transition, it's likely that we're going to need a different way of doing that, a different skill or a capability. So that brings us to the third level of the logical levels framework, which is all about your skills and capabilities. And that can feel, like, okay, finally, a level of the framework that feels a little bit more obvious. I can get a look at what my skills and capabilities are. So when we think about this question, what are the current skills and capabilities that I'm utilizing? We want to think about we'll call them functional skills and capabilities, the things that you in terms of expertise are bringing into your job. There might be technical aspects to it. So certainly that full set of things, like are there different systems that you have to have prior experience with, all of that set of functional technical knowledge and capability that you're bringing. However, don't forget in this category that there are also the soft skills and capabilities. So that's all around things like how you're communicating, so your communication skills, your influencing skills, all sorts of things fall into that softer skill set, often called a softer skill set. I actually don't think that they're softer. They are in many respects maybe even harder than your functional technical skills. Anyway, what we want to do is capture all of that information in, okay, what am I utilizing currently? Now, Later on, we're going to ask a question related to, okay, based on what I now know about the direction that I want to be going, what are the skills and capabilities that I need to be able to go that direction? But we're getting ahead of ourselves in asking that question. So what we want to do at this point is really focus on what are the skills and capabilities that I'm currently deploying in service to what I'm doing here. So make note of that. Next week, I'll come back with question 4 in the series as we dig deeper through the logical levels framework, really bringing about that picture of, where we know we need some sort of transition or a pivot, but how best to really narrow down what that direction is a big part of the outcome of this framework. And why is that important to come before the resume? Well, if you don't know where you're going, the customization of the resume and the really targeting around what you want, you don't have an answer for it. So it's not going to be as clear as it could be if you do all of this initial work. Now, I hear you. I hear you. There is urgency probably in how you're going about this. So you may want to go ahead and do that work around the resume so that you can start exploring and experimenting with applications and so forth. So I'm certainly not suggesting that you need to not do that if that is urgent to you. However, this process can really save you time in the long run. So try that out. Now, if you are feeling stuck and really not sure how to move forward, I am happy to host you in a free 45-minute career strategy session, no strings attached. Happy to meet with you there. So I will drop the link to schedule that also in the description box, as well as the link to the previous videos if you've not had a chance to view them yet. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. Have a good week ahead, and I appreciate you. Take care.